メジャー翻訳速報、海外の反応へようこそ。メジャーリーグに新たな伝説が生まれようとしています。大谷翔平選手が42本塁打42盗塁の偉業に迫り、アーロン・ジャッジ選手は60本塁打を射程圏内に。この2人、ベーブ・ルース以来の記録更新の可能性を秘めています。投打の二刀流、三冠王争い、そして歴史に残る活躍。今回はこちらを詳しく解説している番組をご紹介いたします。ご感想などありましたら、ぜひコメント欄までお願いします。それではご覧ください。
And we are also witnessing greatness this year in a few forms, and attention must be paid. Jill Sherman on the inside corner. Good morning to you. So often we reflect on great years after the fact in lieu of recognizing them in real time when we're seeing greatness this year. Why do we do that? Good morning.
Good morning, Lauren. So I'm really influenced by a column I read. In 1989, the first All-Star game I ever covered for the New York Post was in Anaheim. And the great columnist from the Orange County Register, Mark Wicker, wrote a column about, don't overlook, we always think of what's in black and white as greatness. Don't overlook it. And he ended his column like this, and it always stuck with me. I mean, all these years later, he said, there hasn't been another Clemente, but the only Ozzie Smith who ever lived is here tonight. Which is don't forget there's stuff going on. And by the way, in that All-Star game, 11 Hall of Famers.
Okay.
The two managers, Lasorda and LaRussa, also went to the Hall of Fame. We just saw Bo Jackson hit a homer. He's not in the Hall of Fame, but he's Bo Jackson, Mark McGwire, Don Mattingly, Oral Hershiser. There was all this greatness, and all these years it really stuck with me. Don't just think it's grainy black and white pictures where there's greatness. Concentrate on what's going on in front of you, and you might see it.
That's what you remember from the Orange County Register. I read your latest column, and you said, don't be trapped by nostalgia. Don't think something today can't be great, and that will stick with me. So what's happening in front of us? Potential 50-50 for Shohei Ohtani, 60-plus for Aaron Judge. You, in your column, talked about Babe Ruth was playing a different game. Do you feel that's what we're seeing?
So what made Ruth, to me, Lauren, is he separated himself from everybody else. There was a year when, in 1918, when he was just really pitching, he hit 11 homers, led the league in the whole major leagues in homers. The rest of his team had 4 homers. He hit 11, right? There were years where he out-homered the entire league. If he hit 60, there were teams that didn't reach 60. You could see, I think we have a graphic about, look at this, the differential in the decade. And so it just kind of reminded me, and you always have to be time sensitive. In that 1927 season, the batting average was 284 around in the American League. He only played, no interleague play, only in the American League. It's 244 now. It's as hard to hit as ever. So when you watch what Judge and Ohtani are doing, remember it's in a time where you don't see this. And of course, there's always the historic comp with Ohtani because he pitches and hits. Ruth never did it like Ohtani, to pitch and hit in the same season. And just this year, of course, we're seeing Ohtani.
So you do believe that it's more difficult now to hit than ever before, even from 20 years ago, because we get players in all the time and they debate that, and players that played 15 years ago go, wait a minute. You do believe that?
Yeah, I mean, look, Ruth, I don't believe ever saw a split finger pitch. He never saw a closer throwing 100. He never had a hit against a guy who was perfecting his hand grip on a Rapsodo. And just, look, as I start to think about
separating themselves.
I began camp this year because they were open a week early because they went to Korea, the Dodgers, and I thought they'd be the story of the year. One of the first columns I wrote was, if Ohtani doesn't have to think about pitching this year, what's possible?
Well, we're seeing it.
And they were talking about outlandish stuff that's possible. And of course, we're starting to talk about differentiation, right? The only player with more homers this year than Ohtani is Judge. He has 7 steals. The only guy who has more steals than Ohtani is Ellie De La Cruz. He has 20 fewer homers. And we keep talking 40-40. He's now 42-42. The only player in history to go 42-42 is Alex Rodriguez in 1998. He's already kind of, as he's going towards the 50, and just for differentiation, I just want to point this out with Judge. Fastest to 300 homers, we saw that this year. He has a chance to become the first player to get to 60 twice who's never kind of been tainted by performance-enhancing questions. And I just want to show this. He's 13 points behind Bobby Witt in batting average in a chance to win the Triple Crown. But let's look at the OPS differentiation, because remember, what I say is Ruth differentiates. There's 181 points between Judge and Witt in second place. To get 181 points lower, it would finish 20th. between Riley Green and Ellie De La Cruz. So the difference between 1 and 2 is the difference between 2 and 20. So when we think of these players, I'm making a Ruth comparison because they are differentiating themselves from other great players in their sport.
Okay, so if we're savoring the moment, which you're teaching me to do, we're living in the now, Jill Sherman, the best thing we do, I feel like, as a network is historical perspective, because I didn't watch Ruth and Mason Mantle, right? How do you compare this to the black and white of years past?
Ruth was a tough interview for me. Thank you, Lauren, for pointing out the age difference. It's really helping me. He was tough to get in the clubhouse. He was always off someplace else eating a hot dog. No, so as I think about it, these two guys, Ohtani is the favorite to win the MVP. If he does, become the 12th player to ever win 3.
Okay.
Judge is the favorite. It would be number 2. Judge will play his 10th season next year. That's when you become Hall of Fame eligible. And so I think they're both, and Ohtani is 3 years away from that. They both seem like guys who are on that. How do you become legends beyond that? Ohtani has never played in the postseason. He's about to do that for the first time. You own a postseason, it changes your narrative. Judge has played in a bunch of postseasons. He's hit some homers, but he's only hitting .210 in the postseason. He's struck out a third of the time, and he hasn't had a signature moment yet where you say, oh, it's the flip play or something like that, where you go, Judge owned it. And I think that's what's missing from both of these guys. Ohtani, because he's never got a chance, but he's about to. And Judge is about to get another chance. What changes them from historic great players to something else.
それではここからは総括をお届けします。今シーズン、メジャーリーグは歴史に残る瞬間を次々と生み出しています。中でも大谷翔平選手とアーロン・ジャッジ選手の活躍は、まさに時代を超越した偉業と言えるでしょう。大谷選手は42本塁打42盗塁を記録し、驚異の50-50達成へ向けて邁進しています。これは野球史上例を見ない快挙です。さらに、彼の打者としての能力は、リーグトップクラスの選手たちと肩を並べています。一方、ジャッジ選手は、60本塁打を射程圏内に捉え、三冠王の可能性も秘めています。彼の OPS は2位の選手と、181ポイントもの大差をつけており、まさにベーブ・ルース以来の圧倒的な打者と言えるでしょう。この2人の活躍は、現代野球が史上最も打者に厳しい時代であることを考えると、さらに驚異的です。100マイル超えの速球や複雑な変化球が当たり前の時代に、彼らは卓越した技術と適応力を見せています。今後、大谷選手の初めてのポストシーズン、そしてジャッジ選手の決定的瞬間の創出が、彼らを真の伝説へと押し上げる鍵となるでしょう。私たちは今、野球史に残る偉大な瞬間を目撃しているのです。皆さんはどう思いましたか？あなたのご意見やご感想、このようにしていたらよかったなどありましたら、ぜひコメント欄で教えてください。この動画が面白いと思っていただけましたら、チャンネル登録、高評価をお願いいたします。次回の動画でまたお会いいたしましょう。ご視聴ありがとうございました。